If you going to the gym, are you getting more sleep?
As a trainer, I work hard. I work diligently. It's natural for me to train people because I've been into all these drugs.
Exactly, right? If someone's sleeping on your stomach, like face down, that's really bad for your back.
It's all about behavior and the way you perceive yourself.
No matter if you going to the gym and like then sacrificing 2 or 3 hours of sleep, go get the sleep.
Sleep, nutrition, training, mental health, and social relationships are the foundation for a healthy life.
I used to have really chronic back pain. Like I couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, plants and universes and everything else in between, welcome to, I don't know what episode of the Start Yesterday podcast. I am here with Justin. I'm not the greatest podcast host, so I'm going to get him to introduce himself in a second. So yeah, let's do that.
Thank you, Adam. Very honored to be here on your Start Yesterday podcast.
Yes.
For Puffy got Buffy.
Yes.
Very cool. Very eye-catching.
Yes.
I've been in the health and fitness space for 5 years. Came from South Africa originally. I've worked my way up from being an underperforming trainer to pretty much organizing and doing the executive functions for personal training and sales at the Glen Athletic Club. It's been a very fun adventure. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, the original thing that I think was really cool is my mom's from South Africa, so there's that, and then also like we both have a journey, and we both lost. I think you lost like over 100 pounds, right?
100 pounds.
Yeah. So combined, we're like close to 300.
Right.
And it's just always good to have someone else on the podcast or to talk about similarities. Well, maybe you have obviously different perspectives, different ideologies, but when we boil everything else down, it's just another person that has had success. So if you can do it, I could do it. Someone else listening to this can definitely do it as well, you know?
Oh man, if I could do it, you could do it. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess let's go into that. Like I typically ask every person or every guest that I have on, like, do you have a sob story? And, I mean, like, you don't have to divulge all your, like, you know, dirty secrets, but like, I guess start from a young Justin and then how it kind of blew up metaphorically in terms of like weight, and then where we are now, you know?
Of course. So I was at my heaviest when I was 16. I actually don't know what my heaviest was because I was too scared to step on the scale. It took me about a month of weight loss to feel confident enough to see where I was at. So my heaviest was probably between 123 to 125 kilograms. I don't know what it is in pounds.
It's like 280 to 300, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then I got down to 80 at one stage.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. But now I'm happy to be building it back up. Obviously, I'm going through like hypertrophy cycles and I'm going on these mass gaining cycles. So my goal is to reach like 90 kilograms, 10 to 12% body fat. You know, I've been thinking it's less about the numbers on the scale and it's more about the waist size for me. So I've gone from a size 44 down to a size 34.
Holy shit.
I can't get lower than that.
I'm gonna pull up if anybody's watching on video, I'm gonna pull it up on Instagram. I'm pulling up his Instagram on the TV. It's pretty solid. Like we both started. It's actually crazy the similarities. Like my heaviest I was like 17. Fuck, I'm envious. Like you never had any like dead skin, really.
I have so much, and that's something I want to talk to you about. Man. One of the topics that I want to talk to you about later in this podcast is that having excess skin and fat cells and how you deal with that. As a man that was also once very heavy yourself, like you know, I've been moving these past couple of days and my diet has not been on point. Right. And man, the bloating is crazy. You gain like 3 to 5 kilograms of just bloat.
Well, I went to the X yesterday. It's funny. Like I ate probably easily 10,000 calories, but then I also I still walked like 30,000 steps. But
10,000 calories?
Yeah, easily. Like I just ate like shit. But I like doing that. That's just, but not. This is not an everyday occurrence.
Right.
That's not sustainable. But like it's not really binging. I didn't like force feed myself. I just ate whatever I wanted and got high. And there's a lot of not super low calorie dense foods.
You had cannabis,
right? Well, that's my idea or ideal of fun time. You just hang out with friends and you shoot shit and you get high and you eat what you want. And I also add a benefit, you just walk around, right? But to that extent, the bloat I've always had extreme. Well, now that when I lost the weight, I always had extreme bloat. Like I could hold so much water weight. But then I could also extend my abdomen, so that's why I can eat a lot as well.
You extended your abdomen?
Like I'll pull up a picture on the screen.
Yeah.
Somewhere if I can find it. It's in my photos. But basically, I have an ability like professional eaters do. Not to say I'm a professional eater, but they can basically open up their like stomach capacity past, like they can just enlarge it more than the average human being. Let me try to find this photo. But I guess before I find this photo, for you, like you mentioned, you didn't have like dead skin, right?
No, I do.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Because in the photos, like it doesn't look like you have much.
So in that photo, I was extremely lean. I was actually doing prolonged fasts.
Here, I found it. Sorry,
Yeah.
to cut you off. But basically, this picture,
Yeah.
if someone's not watching on video, basically, the morning I did a check-in for my coach, and this was before I had the skin removal surgery.
Can see that.
And then I went for all-you-can-eat steak, and I ate probably like I don't even know. Like I eat a lot of food, and then that was the night after.
Okay.
So like. Obviously, I'm eating a shit ton of food, but that's to show the extent, like how much I could basically put in my stomach. I had like a literal food baby, and the differences between the two weight, I think that's a difference of like 25 pounds in 12 hours, right?
25 pounds in 12 hours.
Probably like this was probably around like 218, and then this was like 235 or something, or 235, 240, something like that. Yeah.
Crazy.
I'll show you the skin removal, which was here. Where is it? This is making for fantastic audio. Sorry for anybody listening to the podcast. I'm trying to find the before and after image. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Boom. So that was the one on the left was like me at my absolute biggest. That was like me like almost 18.
You know it's real when the belly's hanging over the.
Bro, when I tell people I couldn't see my dick in the mirror, like I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, you know it's real. You know it's real when you gotta like pull up your fat to put your
yeah,
belt
dude.
on, man.
Like I mean, unless I was like
days.
a Jerome sized,
Dark
you
days.
know, like dick, like there's no way at that weight. And then I had the skin removal surgery in December of 2023.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah. You can see in your facial expression too.
Well, okay, so when I was at like peak Puffy, like I would smile in photos, but it wasn't really like an authentic
You can't.
smile. It's like I could see the pain in my eyes,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Oh, yeah.
But now it's like I'm pretty happy and confident. Like I've developed and gotten to the point where it's like I don't really give a fuck. And that's like with a lot of things. Like you either like me, or you don't. I'm happy with where I'm at, and that's pretty much the leanest I could probably get. Like if I absolutely had to, I could probably drop another 5 pounds. But then it gets to a certain point of like sacrificing certain things, and like I don't know if I'm actually genetically capable of having abs, right?
It's a good point. It's valid. Yeah, some people are genetically predispositioned to hold more water and also to be at a higher body fat, and that was something I was going to tie into our debates about Ozempic as well.
Wow.
It's a genetic predisposition.
Well, I guess for you, do you have dead skin?
I do. Probably not as much as you do because you lost more weight than I did.
Yeah.
I also lost it from a period of time when I was 15 to let's say 18, 19. So I lost it fairly young, so I still had some elasticity.
Okay.
And as I'm putting on more size, it starts to diminish. But if you compare me to someone who's like never had a lot of weight, you can see the difference.
Interesting, yeah, but that's still like pretty impressive to where
Thanks, man.
you were at to where you're at now, because you have a pretty solid. Like
we're not stopping.
like
The goal is to actually hop on stage for a natural bodybuilding competition, just to say
that's
I
it,
did
dude.
I can do it.
Are you gonna do the transformation division, or are you gonna just do like a normal show?
Regular, even if I place last,
No,
I just want to
fine.
step on stage.
Yeah,
I want
that's
to go
it,
through a
dude.
comp prep stage, step on stage.
I think
Yeah.
everyone at one point or another should do it, but they should do it like you're saying. They should do it for themselves. They shouldn't do it for winning.
Yeah, no, I'm doing it for the drive.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I would say to
Prove a
check out
point.
maybe like the transformation division though.
I may.
Because I actually had a guy on Thursday. Shout out to Ashton. He dropped like 150, 180 pounds. And he dropped that over like 3 years. And then it was like yesterday he was on stage. He didn't win because there was another guy
That's okay.
who was like ginormous. I think his name's Craig or Greg. No, it's not. It's like his Instagram's like Goliath something. But he also lost like 150 pounds.
that would be quite an appeal to authority for like your sales too, right? If you could win a transformation division.
See, that's the thing though.
Yeah.
For me, when I've thought about it and the
Yeah.
pros and the cons, there's more cons than pros for it.
How come?
It's gonna like I would obviously want to do it and present like my best package or my best physique.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, sacrifices would have to be made for my social life and also like even like from a business standpoint, like you're gonna have to cut carbs. I'm not gonna have energy to like do stuff. I know buddies that have prep for shows and they've like canceled clients because they literally don't have energy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's like for the entirety of prep, but it's like
For the last 2 weeks or so, it's
just
tough.
it's not really something I'm willing to necessarily do. And then the biggest thing is like I can stick. I can say wholeheartedly I can be 90 to 95% on a diet or a meal plan, which is what I do consistently, and that's why I'm able to like maintain like a healthy lifestyle. But I can't do 100% and like eat the same monotonous things for like 4 months in a row. And I know that's necessary or it's pretty required. You could do macros for like 3 months, but then the final month you kind of have to do the diet.
Yeah, especially on your weight loss phase. But on your mass gaining phase, you have small lenience.
Oh, for sure. Well, but I'm saying more to get like into like stage,
to get shredded.
to get shredded, right? You kind of don't
4
have
months.
like much
No.
leniency.
No, but this is going to sound a little bit masochistic, but I've grown to kind of enjoy that deep cutting phase.
Interesting.
You get a certain amount of control, and it brings about a certain amount of confidence in your abilities to conquer a demon that once haunted you for ages, right?
That's true.
And you get into that zone when you're on the cuts and this is what I'm doing, this is when it's going to end. Sometimes you don't sleep, but you know what the end result's going to be, and then it drives you forward.
I guess for me, it's a matter of like sacrificing like social dynamic, because that's a big proponent, which people don't realize is like
It
is
is
a lot with life. Like you go out with buddies. Like I don't even really drink that much, right? But it's just like whenever you go out, typically that's like food related.
I agree. It's our culture. Our entertainment is surrounded by alcohol and food.
Yeah.
And a disregard for your sleep and all kinds of health. Yeah. It's so destructive, and that's what we celebrate. We go out and we overeat and we drink too much.
It's kind of sad, but it is, and it's not just here. It's like pretty much worldwide. Like it's even worse in Europe. Yeah, like, I went to Europe like in May, and it was like a Tuesday night at 2 a.m, and these people are still out on the streets like drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I was in like popular tourist tourist areas, right? So it's not like probably all locals, but it's still crazy. Like that's like I mean, from a social dynamic, it's sad like how everything is involved around that.
Hedonistic,
right? It's like I just don't have like I don't have the will to like just sacrifice that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like I have the mental discipline maybe once, but if I'm cutting for show, it's like 4, 5, 6 months. It's like I'm not gonna bring cold chicken breast to a restaurant, or like have someone eat a cookie in front of me and not eat it. It's just like not something that I necessarily would. If it's something that I wouldn't get a client to do, I wouldn't do it myself, or vice versa. Right. So it's like that's why I'm very adamant and preach like the healthy, like sustainable lifestyle where it's like then that like mitigates binge eating, or like it's like, okay, yesterday was a bit of an extreme when I went to the X, but like on an average weekend, if I go and hang out with my buddies, I'm gonna shoot and aim for something that's really high protein. But then if it's like if I see a cookie, I'm gonna eat the fucking cookie. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna die. Right.
But you will gain a few pounds of water weight if you've lost a lot of weight and you're going and you're going to have all these carbs and sodium. You can gain, and that's what you shouldn't be frightened of. Like you've eaten these 10,000 calories, and you're bloated. But what we don't understand is our fat cells fill up so much with water that it is so deceiving. Yeah. Right. And we don't acknowledge that, and we think this is I've gotten fat again because I've had these 1 or 2 binges, and now you know what? Just because I'm going to go off the rails and now I'm going to start binge eating more. And we don't take we don't put it in perspective and be like, this is mainly water weight, but because it's in fat cells, it looks like I've gained like 5 to 10, maybe in your case 15 to 20 pounds of fat, but you haven't. You've just gained water in the fat cells. Maybe you've gained like half a pound of fat. It's deceiving.
I literally had this conversation with a client yesterday. He weighs himself all the time, even though I told him not to.
You tell him not to?
I just once a week, because
really?
But basically, he keeps weighing himself almost every day, and he's like, "Well, I'm following the plan. I'm up 5 pounds," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's not Sunday. Normally you do the check-in on Sunday." Yeah. And I basically told him exactly what you said, how it can fluctuate a lot. Yeah. I tell all my clients to just track their weight once a week, and unless it's like someone. Like she's not necessarily in bikini prep, but she's like wanting to cut really lean, and we're manipulating her macros basically like pretty stringently like every week. So for her, she's tracking her weight like 2 or 3 times a week. Other than that, especially with like a lot of my main niche is like really heavy individuals. It's more from a mental standpoint.
Yes. I completely understand.
Right. It's just like you get, and I don't know, I'm sure you could probably relate to this, but for me, like when I started, like it was a huge one shift in terms of mentality, one way or the other, in terms of if I was happy or if I was sad. Like I would wake up, I would weigh myself, and then like if I wasn't down weight, I would like starve myself, right? Okay. Or I would do extra cardio, or it would make me depressed for like majority of the day. Okay. Right? It would be such an impact, like it makes such an impact, and I would do it every single day. And I didn't know at the time, you know, your digestive system is a huge part to it. Your fat cells, your water intake, like there's so many different reasons on why your weight fluctuates, right? And it is very normal for your weight to not, like if you had a weight chart or someone losing weight, it's not going to just be linear straight down.
It's like the stock market.
Yeah, well, hopefully not to that extent, but like similar, right? It would be like I would say a heart rate monitor. Not heart rate monitor if it's a good heart. It's not going to be linear. It's not going to be straight down, right? But a lot of people think it's supposed to be, or they want to like lose half a pound a day every single day consistently, and it's just like, anyways.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like I get all my clients, or anybody watching.
Unless you're like 600 pounds, it's.
Well, then it should be like you need to like get like let's fucking go. You're gonna die. But anybody watching this, I would say just track your weight once a week. Maybe twice a week if you absolutely need to. But it's not gonna help from a mental standpoint. Anything more than that.
I agree. I can preface this for myself. I track my weight daily, but that's because I'm in a very different stage.
100%.
When I was in my like my puffy days. Yeah. When I was not in my I'm like in my puffy days now, but in my puffy days, man, stepping on the scale was hard. Mentally, it was a challenge. Interesting. Once a week is cool, and I even prefer body fat. I was working with a trainer, sign up. Yeah. It helps. And we would just do body fat tests like once a week. And that was really nice to see the body fat go down. And then when I'd step on the scale, I'd be happy about it. Yeah. And that helped me get over this weight thing. Because like, man, you lose so much muscle mass if you're continually starving yourself. Like, you've got to get away from the body weight. Yeah. Like, I'm going back. Like, I'm gaining weight back. And it's good because I'm getting bigger. You don't want to starve yourself. Look at your body fat. Look at how your clothes fit you. 100%. That is my favorite way. Like, I'll have a pair of jeans or a pair of chinos, and I'll be like, if I put this on, I know I'm at a certain, like, body composition, like I'm very lean, or if I'm getting too big, I'll start to feel like the waistband, my belly pressing against the waistband. Yeah. There's other metrics to use.
Well, I like more than the scale. Like I've even gone to the point of like, I've gone to someone's house and broke their scale before. That was a client of mine. Yeah. So other than the scale, I prefer.
You broke the scale?
Yeah. I mean, because she was doing what I was doing, and she was like every morning. She
okay. I thought you were saying in your puffy days, you physically stood on the scale.
No, I didn't. No. My scale that I had when I was at my peak puffy, I was maxed. I maxed the scale out.
It said max on the scale.
It said max, like MAX. The biggest weight I ever saw on a scale was like 375 or something like that. But what was I saying? Regarding
you broke your client's scale.
Yeah, I broke her scale, and I feel like, it comes down to like mental, not discipline. It just comes down to like where you're at mentally. It was really wearing on her like every morning.
Because again, you don't understand the science of it, and you can go through, right? And you can go through your fat loss phase. I don't know how you periodize your fat loss, but let's say you put this person on like X amount of time, and they're doing a 500 calorie deficit a day for 2 months. You can go through that, but as you lose fat, that area it starts to fill up with water. Yep. Right, and you don't lose the weight automatically. But if you do that, and then you go into your maintenance phase after that, and as you start to dry out and lean out, and that water goes down, you will start to see your weight is going to drop rapidly because there's no longer fat cells; it's just water where the fat was. It's good better than mine.
Yeah, I mean, I like measurements and pictures, right? So how you like the clothes, right? I don't think some people could definitely use that, but like, I'm working with clients that like haven't been their goal weight for 20, 30 years, right? And some of them still have those clothes, right? Yeah. But other than clothes, measurements is more important. For sure. And photos. Like, I don't care about the scale. Most people shouldn't care about the scale. If I had the option, or if most people had an option to like an in-body scanner, like a DEXA scan, but like, that's expensive as fuck. But anyways, a body fat machine. Like definitely that's more.
That is a scale I use, by the way.
In body?
No. I use a body fat scale every day. So I track my body fat, and that's actually how I see on my cut phases how I'm doing compared to my weight specifically.
Well, then that also helps at the stage that you're at with, in my opinion, which I've done that as well. It helps like with mental discipline, right? Where like, you know, if you fucked up yesterday, if your weight's up, you know why.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's still probably not going to be linear, like even at a cut stage, you're not going to necessarily be down a pound every single day.
Oh no, it's not good,
But as long as it's like, if you take the
macroscopic view.
Yeah, exactly. If you just take it by the 7 days and divide it by 7, then, or see where you are from Monday to Monday, then that's all that really matters,
For
right?
Sure.
So I guess let's get back into like what your journey was, because like you were similar to me. You know, you were really heavy as a young lad, and then how did you transition to where you're at?
That's a good question. It took me about 4 years to lose that weight, 10 kilograms a year.
Okay.
That's pretty average. Man,
But I think maybe that's why you didn't have a lot of dead skin.
It could be. It was a weird way of losing weight, to be honest with you. I did everything I could do to try and not be in a calorie deficit. Like, I did not lose weight the best way possible. I'm going to preface that. Knowing what I know now, I would have done things so differently. But I spent so much energy on different diets and fads and things, trying to like maybe it's useful because I experimented a lot. I gained a lot of knowledge. And I lost weight through all the different metrics. But I've done like blood type diet. I've done keto. I've done fasting. I've been vegetarian. I've like.
Did you vegan?
I've never. The vegan is crazy. Currently, I'm pescatarian, but that's because of like a moral cause compared to just health. But so I tried all of that in an attempt just to get away from like the calorie deficit. Because when I was I think I was 13, I was I was really heavy for my age. I can't remember the exact numbers right now. And my father took me to a dietitian, and my father and the dietitian sat me down at this intervention, and the dietitian looked me in the eye and he said, "By the time you're 30, you will be dead if you keep eating the way you do.
That's crazy.
And you'll have diabetes in a few years." I think he called me pre-diabetic, and I was like 13, man, and I was like, oh shit. So I lost at that age, I lost like 20 kilos. But I was on like 1,000 calories a day.
Nice.
And I was eating 1,000 calories a day. Lunch was just popcorn and fruit.
Nice.
And I gained all of that back plus extra, like double in the next couple of years. So by the time I was 16, I reached peak heaviness. So I've gained and lost that weight. You know, you've been through that. It's like it's a mental game. It's like fighting an addiction.
Yeah, it's crazy. Actually, our similarities, dude. Like, I can resonate with almost everything you're saying. Like, when I was 16, I went to my doctor and he's like, "Yeah, you'll be dead by 24."
Yeah.
But that's because you started losing weight quicker.
Yeah.
And I was already a type 2 diabetic.
Okay.
Right. So, and I was on a liver transplant list, and like, thankfully you never. So I was like, definitely, I'm like literally what you could have been if you didn't change earlier. Like, it's like you changed 3 years before I did, but I like went another level. You know what I mean?
You did. You crossed the bridge.
Yeah, but
you were further along the bridge of no return than I was.
Yeah. So it's just crazy because like the similarities. Like, I mean, I didn't even know what a caloric deficit was, but trying every diet under the sun, I look back at it and was like, I'm like you. I'm grateful for that because I could tell everybody watching this or my clients how fucking stupid it is.
Yes.
Right.
You expend so much more energy just. Be practical, be scientific.
Exactly. When you do anything, you jump to any giant extremes or conclusions. Like, it's just realistically not beneficial. Like, a perfect analogy is like, I have a dog. I love my dog. He got extra weight. I gave him too much steak. He got chubby. He was like, he's a golden lab. A golden lab should be like 80 pounds. He was like 110. So he got a little extra puffy. But am I going to put my dog on fucking keto? No. Am I going to put him on Weight Watchers? Am I going to put him on Jenny Craig, Bernstein, Atkins?
You're going to feed him the protein bars.
Am I going to stick a needle in his ass with Ozempic? No. Right? I'm going to eat him. I'm going to feed him slightly less and maybe move him a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right? But then when it comes to like humans, right, and just I guess our psychology behind it, I don't know why we jump to such crazy extremes, but then it's also like we're gullible and like marketing and all these trends and all this other things. But it's crazy like how much similarities we have. So you lost the weight from what, like 14 to 17?
So I lost the first round.
Yeah.
At like 13 to 14, I lost a lot of weight in that 1 year. I lost like 15 to 20 kilograms in 1 year.
So that's like 50 pounds. That's
quite
a decent amount.
But it was crazy. That diet was killer.
Well, the popcorn and fruit diet. Yeah, that's not good.
That was crazy. And then obviously the binging that followed that, man, I would be playing Grand Theft Auto because it wasn't just the food, it's all encompassing, right? Like that's why when I offer coaching, it's like a holistic service because your diet is often indicative of your lifestyle choices, right?
Yeah.
My everything was off. I was binge eating. I was playing Grand Theft Auto and had a cupboard in my room just full of I had Pringles, I had Lay's chips, I had different chocolates, I had like energy drinks, like all of this, like Monster Energy full of glucose, and I would just every day I would just binge eat what was in my room, and that's like the first thing. If you've got junk food in your room, remove that. That is a very, very good step forward. Room, safe spaces for sleep and recovery. Get the junk food out, and if you can, get the TV out, get the video games. It'll do you a lot of good for weight loss too.
I can attest to that 100%.
That's a good step forward. And then so I gained it all back when I was 15. Then I hopped on some keto, and I hopped on some intermittent fasting, and then some vegetarian. And then along the way, I figured it out. I had some very good coaches helping me through, but I was very, how do I say? I wasn't knowledgeable. Right? I wasn't following all their guidance. I was, again, trying to just find the easiest path. That's what I thought. And then by the time I was 18, I made progress. By the time I was 18, I had lost pretty much all of that weight, gotten down to 80. But I figured I'd lost a lot of muscle mass too. And now from that next phase, I've been in between, I'm going to say 80 to 90 kilograms in that range. Now I'm pushing the upper echelons, but I'm on a weight gaining phase at the moment. Yeah.
Gotcha, bro. So, in terms of I just want to touch on what you said in terms of the video games or instead of the junk food.
Yeah.
I feel like, similar to you, it was a big proponent in lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Like, I played video games like 16 hours a day, and then I had like I put on the screen. I had a man cave. It was like all Steelers related. I love the Steelers. They're like my favorite football team.
All right.
But this was my chair, and then I had like the PlayStation here, and then there was a TV over here.
Yeah.
So I was playing video games and watching TV at the same time because I have ADHD. And then you can't really see it, but there's a mini fridge right next to this chair. Yeah, you can't really see it. If you go on the back side of it, you'll see the mini fridge. And inside that mini fridge, it's there where the helmet is. It's right there. Inside that mini fridge, there was chocolate bars. There was. I loved Arizona. That was great for my diabetes. Okay. So
that was great for diabetes.
The fruit punch flavor specifically.
Oh my god!
Like and just a shit ton of chocolate bars, a shit ton of Arizona. I had like Nestea, like it was just pop and chocolate bars, and then of course inside the chair actually. So inside the chairs there was like places that you could put stuff, and inside the chair there was like chips and like cookies and shit. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're just number one thing, I'm not saying like just cut everything you love, but I find, and we can both attest to this being very heavy, like you have shitty self-control, and I don't know anybody who's overweight that has good self-discipline, because if they did, they probably wouldn't be overweight. So I'm not saying
98% of people.
Yeah, there obviously are outliers, but
the majority. Yeah, vast majority.
And I'm not saying like right now to go to your cupboard and like throw everything out that you enjoy. But I feel like that's almost necessary. And the reason being, if like you're craving something or you want to binge on something, you don't have it in the house, then guess what? The likelihood of you going to the store and buying it, probably not happening. Right now, you might like order something off of Uber Eats, but I feel like almost anything that you could get off Uber Eats, even if it's like a pizza, is almost better than just eating a bag of chips. And that's a whole other topic and debate of like nutrition and shit. But I feel like for a lot of people, you have to remove the temptations and and the distractions in a way. Like, how the fuck is that gonna help you if you're trying to lose weight? But then I have a couple clients, they like have kids, right? And then they're like, well, my kids want this. And I get that to a certain extent, but like if you're a mom or your dad watching this and like you're packing your kids lunch, you don't need to get them like potato chips. You don't need to get them like these mini Chips Ahoy things, right?
Why are you enabling them to become what you are?
And I'm not saying they need to like become vegan and like you need to give them carrot sticks and hummus, like although that's a great snack, but there's healthier alternatives.
Great.
And there's a fine line and a happy medium to everything. And then if like you're packing your kid's lunch and you're giving him goldfish, right? Okay, that's not the end of the world. But like have some self-discipline. And then ultimately, if you don't have the self-discipline to not eat goldfish while you're packing your kid's lunch, then like just don't buy the goldfish.
Correct. Right?
Because your kid, one way or the other, they're not in the position to complain. You're feeding them. Yeah. They're not buying the food. Yeah. If they don't like it, go get a job. I'm getting granted, like they're probably like young, right? But yeah.
I agree. And to add to that, what you said resonates with me because a very underlooked and arguably the most important part of this is the psychology of weight loss.
Yeah.
I am a psychology major. I'm in my 4th year of psychology.
Oh, sick.
I haven't graduated. I'm not a psychologist, but I have been through the struggles and I am studying it. It's all about behavior and the way you perceive yourself, right? And your children will resemble you, right? And they will see you as role models. So if you start taking care of yourself and you start understanding that all of these foods are okay in moderation, I'm saying less than 20% of your diet should be goldfish or whatever else Canadians like to eat these days. I don't know.
Biltong.
Biltong, yeah. Biltong is like it's a tough one too.
It's a gray area. It could be a lot worse. I mean, it's like, if anybody doesn't know, it's like the equivalent of like, it's a better version of jerky.
Yeah. But as I was saying is, think about it. You want your kids to have the best start.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm assuming so. I have faith. So if you can start by how do I say, conditioning their palate to healthier food choices.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Because when you're eating all of this highly palatable food,
yeah,
you're programming your child to indulge in that. Why are you enabling that kind of demon that you're already facing? If you can, it's not an excuse. At the end of the day, it's just an excuse. It's a way of you beating around the bush, trying to get around the truth. If you're saying my kids, my family, all of this, it's just you have to analyze that part of your mind that is still giving you reasons to follow that negative behavior.
Well, and honestly, I'm a perfect example of what happens. Like, my parents weren't fat.
Yeah.
So my mom was really fat when she was younger. Yeah. So genetics do play some part of it, but like, you're not big boned. You're
not big boned.
I'm sorry if anybody thinks that. I love you to death, but that is the dumbest excuse I ever will hear for someone being heavy. You're not big. Your father was not a fucking elephant. It's not possible. All right, but my mom was fat. My sister and I, we have shittier metabolisms, right? So that does play some role in it. But like, when my parents were, or when I was younger, they were not fat. They didn't eat like shit, right? But I'm a perfect example of why you need to start your kids young and develop the healthy habits, and don't give in to like your kid bitching, because I developed an eating disorder.
For sure.
Like, my eating disorder was so bad, and one of the biggest reasons I ballooned so heavy was because from the age of 6 to the age of 17, I basically only ate the happy menu, or the what is it, the McHappy menu.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Like the Happy Menu, or the Happy Meal. There we go.
Yeah.
I only ate the Happy Meal menu. Where it was grilled cheese, chicken fingers, hot dogs, and pizza. That was like almost the only foods that I ate.
It's disgusting.
And when I tried to eat anything different, I would throw up.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I actually met another South African, her name's Susan. I'll give her a shout out, Susan Osher. She's a great eating disorder specialist, and she's in Toronto. And I don't know how my mom found her, but everybody knows everybody that's from South Africa.
Oh, in Canada, yes. Yeah. It's a very
especially in Toronto, right?
Yeah, in Toronto.
And I'm so grateful, because like, she helped me like overcome what I didn't know at the time was an eating disorder, right? And she said it wasn't a common eating disorder. It's ARFID, which what does ARFID stand for? ARFID eating disorder. It stands for a condition that limits your food intake, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder.
Okay.
So basically, and this is honestly something that it's helpful for you to know, you're a psychology major.
Yeah.
If you meet anybody that's been eating the same shit for the last decade, like, they probably have ARFID. Because I would try to eat new foods. It's not like I was completely opposed to that, but it got to the point of psychologically, I would throw up if I introduced anything but those 4 or 5 foods. Yeah. So what Susan helped me do is, like, basically, and I've told the story before, so I'm not going to go in like super depth, but basically we like broke it down. Instead of eating chicken fingers at McDonald's, I'd literally buy a deep fryer and stick it at home.
Right.
And then I would go to air fry, then I'd go to oven, then I'd go to etc. And then, okay, now I can eat chicken. And then we do the same thing with like steak, or we do the same thing with pizza. And then eventually, so I don't have like I don't have like a huge variety per se, but I have enough to where it's like, it's cool. Like, I'm able to like maintain, like, I'm not going to go eat Indian chicken or Indian, right? It's just, that's like, I can't, even like now I'm mentally sane. Like, I don't have really the eating disorder anymore. I can't come to grips with eating Indian food. But yeah, so
were you kind of almost eating exclusively fast food and junk food?
Yeah,
and you were never exposed when you were younger to any of these other kind of foods?
No, like, I ate McDonald's 3 times a day, basically.
Wow.
Obviously, like, I would change up the palate. I would change up like from Wendy's to McDonald's, but
it was predominantly fast food.
Yeah.
So you would eat fast food 3 times a day?
Basically. Sometimes 4.
Sometimes 4 times a day?
Yeah.
No, home cooked meals?
No. It was, but because it got that bad, bro. Like, it literally got to the point, like, I was addicted. A chicken finger is not a chicken finger when someone has ARFID. So, like, when I could literally get a baked chicken finger from the grocery store and stick it in the oven, I would gag. It was not the same as going to McDonald's because I was addicted to the McDonald's.
I understand.
Right? So, almost the thought of me cooking at home was redundant because it was just like there was nothing I could really make at home that I would actually eat.
Wow.
Right? So, yeah, pretty much. Basically, it was all fast food. The only things I would eat at home were like shit, like chocolate or chips or like nachos, right? So I'd put well, it wasn't even nachos. I literally because I didn't eat ground beef.
You had like you had like no vegetables.
No.
In your diet, no fruits.
No, barely any fruit. I mean, I was never actually
it's like
opposed
the
to fruit.
healthiest things you would eat.
Dude, technically, come to think of it, probably chicken nuggets.
Holy.
Yeah,
man,
because that actually had protein in it.
Man, that's insane. Yeah, no, you definitely did go further down that path of no return than I did, man. I would still eat stuff. Like I would eat healthy foods, but I'd binge them. And okay. Well, I'm glad you made that change because that's hard to come out of. How did you come out of that? Aside from Susan, she took you and she slowly introduced you to different types of the same food, and then you started expanding out of that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like now you've reached a comfort level in that.
Yep.
Have you helped any other clients with that?
No, because most clients that I have talked to, it's more of a binge eating.
Yeah, like something I probably suffer from. Probably.
And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a binge eating disorder. There was one not really client. I told him it's kind of outside. I'm not gonna name names, but there was a 12-year-old his nickname was very similar to Puffy. His nickname was Tuffy, which I thought was so fucking funny and so cool. But basically, I talked to his mom, and his mom told me that he has a binge eating disorder. And so I actually sent him, I sent her Susan's info. But for most adults that I talk to, the binge eating is typically a stem, or there's a trigger to it. And I'm not necessarily opposed to someone binge eating. I'd rather you do that than do crack cocaine, okay, or heroin, or whatever drug, or alcohol, or any other vice. It could be much worse, in my opinion. But there's typically a trigger to it. So when I binged eat, it was typically because I was depressed from not having any ambition or not having like anywhere to go in life.
Yes.
Or my parents were going through a divorce, and so that caused it.
Yes.
Or
your parents went through divorce too.
Yeah. We could be like brothers in a different world. But basically, when I did that, I would go and my binge eating, like some people have binge eating disorders to the point where they go and they eat themselves and then they throw up.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I would just eat until the point of absolute fullness, and then I'd feel like shit.
Yeah.
And the thing that most people don't realize is like I literally felt worse after the binge eating than I did before.
Oh yeah.
It's that instant like hit of serotonin and dopamine, and then like the instant regret right after.
It's called myopia.
What's that?
Myopia.
Oh, okay.
That concept you just said,
Yeah.
that myopia is a microscopic view of I need this desire fulfilled in the moment, and I don't care about the long-term effects. Myopia. They have a myopic view on eating.
Yeah.
And you get into that zone. It's almost like, for lack of a better description, it's like a dog in heat. All you can focus on is that I want that food, I want the sugar, and that's what you need. And you shut off that part of your mind that processes and evaluates, and you're just stuck in the limbic system. And you're just shoveling anything you can down. It's quite scary actually. And then when you come out and you start going more and your prefrontal cortex takes over and the rational decision making part of your mind is there, you go to war with yourself. Yeah. So
that's what happened, bro. Like every time I finished my binge eating or my binge cycle, I'd be like, why the fuck did I do this?
Yeah.
And then I'd feel worse.
Yeah.
Right. So when I talk to anybody with that binge eats, I can't say disorder because if it was a disorder to where they're doing it on a daily basis or very frequently, that's somewhat outside of scope of practice. So then I would refer them to someone like a nutritionist.
Also, it's not helpful to identify that, because if you say, oh, I think you have a binge eating disorder, and they start to agree with you, and they identify as a binge eating disorder, it's.
So I've never. Other than that one kid, which hopefully he does end up going to Susan. I checked in on him like a week ago at this time of recording, and the mom's going through a lot of stuff, but hopefully that gets sorted. But other than them, the thing that I would say with most binge eating is like figure out the trigger. I will try to eliminate the trigger, but then if it's something that's like not really non-negotiable, a non-avoidance, then just binge eat on things that you can get full
Control,
of, right? Or not even control. I like to focus on stomach capacity.
Okay.
So if you're gonna binge eat, a great example would be popcorn, right? And no, don't add fucking butter to the fucking popcorn, for the love of God, because that defeats the purpose of having fucking popcorn. But popcorn, as you know, is really low calorie, high fiber, and so you can eat a shit ton of it. Like most people are going to be very full eating 500 calories, let alone 1,000 calories of actual like non-buttered popcorn, right? And if you're saying, oh, well, I need flavoring to my popcorn, you can go and get like 0-calorie flavorings. They have all dressed, they have ketchup, they have salt and vinegar, they even have fake imitation butter flavoring. And it's a little high in sodium, but I'd rather you die from sodium intake than diabetes, or heart palpitations or a stroke.
Very good. Very good.
So when it comes to binge eating, that's the approach that I take, and that's the approach I'd recommend anyone. Is I think I actually had a YouTube video on this, or it'll probably be out by the time this is how to avoid or strategies to overcome binge eating, which I put in that video like topics on like or meals, so to say, or snacks on what to do for binge eating. And the best one would be popcorn or fruit, right?
Perfect.
Or literally, like, if it came down to it, go get 2 strip loins. Go literally buy 2 steaks and eat 2 steaks. I don't care. And if you finish those 2 steaks, you will not be full. It will be very difficult, because most people are like, most normal people, whether you're 400 pounds, whether you're 200 pounds, if you're eating like 20 ounces of steak, there's not a chance you're going to be full, or you're not going to be hungry after that. That should fill you up, right? And then if you're still hungry, then eat 1,000 calories worth of popcorn. Right, because
I don't think you'll be hungry after. And if you wait like 15 minutes, and you've eaten all those steaks, now you won't be hungry.
That's another thing too, right? People don't wait, right?
Yeah, they don't wait.
They just like go,
myopia.
Myopia. I think I do this. Well, I do that when I go to all you can eat sushi. I'll just order everything at once. But that's my strategy, actually.
All you can eat sushi. Tell me about that.
So I'm going on Thursday with a buddy of mine to all you can eat sushi. I'm gonna actually record it and I'm gonna put it on YouTube, because I said kind of a flex. Like I could eat like almost 100 pieces of sushi.
Wow.
Right. Most people tap out at like 30, 20 pieces. I could do like 100, but my biggest strategy is I'll just order everything at once, because I know exactly how much I can eat, and then I'll eat it all at once in like 5 minutes, and then I'm done.
5 minutes?
Not 5 minutes. Okay, maybe like 10.
Sushi. Wow.
Yeah, maybe like 10. 5 minutes would be ridiculous. I would have to like, that's like that's like Olympic level, not Olympics. Imagine food eating in the Olympics, but that's like professional food eating. That's something I actually want to get into potentially, but then like that might start a different binge eating, because a lot of actually professional food eaters, they've come out on it, and like one of the top guys, his name's Eric the Electric. You would actually find him interesting. He has a whole separate channel. Like he has a main channel for the food eating, and then he has a separate channel breaking down how he periodizes his macros, how he figures out his expenditure, because his eating challenges, he'll eat like 30,000 calories in a sitting, but then he doesn't eat for the next week. People think he does this every day. Yeah. Right? So his second channel is breaking down all the boring stuff that people don't care about.
So he's basically teaching you the theory of competitive eating.
Yeah. Now, could I do that? Probably not, because I know it would be required. And he, for example, like he does a shit ton of biking. He does a shit ton of running. So he's expending a lot of calories in preparation for eating that. But he also has he's very specialized and very unique at, like me, he can extend his stomach very large. Good. So he can hold like 20 pounds of food in his stomach, right? But most people can't do that. But I could probably do food eating challenges, but then it's like certain things in the food challenges, like I don't like pickles, right? And if they're like, well, you have to eat pickles, I'm just not going to do the food challenge, right? But I guess that's a whole other story. So I guess we learned more about you, I guess, how you went from where you were to where you're at now. It's crazy the similarities that we had. And now where you're at, like, when did you move to Toronto?
So I've been here for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And
did you come like with family, or did you just come solo?
Yeah, so it's a complicated story with the divorce. Thankfully, I had conquered for the most part the binge eating episodes and the weight gaining when my parents did get divorced. So I went to meditation and counseling and exercise to get out of that. How do I say that period of hardship? That's actually a very valuable point here for someone. Is if your behavior or your coping mechanism is binge eating, it is so helpful to try and find other ways to cope with the problems that are going on in your life. If you can make that switch from it's so unconscious. If you can make that switch from I feel stressed because of the situation I'm in. Maybe it's work, maybe it's family related, like maybe it's social, and you say, okay, instead of going to binge my stomach out, instead of going to just see how much I can eat to escape this pain, if you could go and see someone who can help you create more positive ways of dealing with it. Like I would just go to the gym. It's a very easy way, or learn how to meditate, or do something productive, and you'll see as you focus your mind on a different behavior activity, you'll stop ruminating. Rumination is the act of perpetually thinking negative thoughts or having negative thoughts in your mind and letting them loop on repeat. And instead of like binging your way out of that, you can, lift weights, you can run, you can exercise and let it pass.
It's true.
But coming back, I've been here for 5 years, and we'll see what happens next year. Yeah.
So now where you're at, you're the sales manager.
Sales executive.
Okay, sales executive
Sales executive
of the gym, the Glen Athletic Club.
London Athletic Club.
And how long you been doing that?
So I started. It's a cool story. I started at another camp. It's at York. I started as a trainer. Mm-hmm. I worked hard. I worked diligently. It's natural for me to train people because I've been through all these struggles, right? And then I moved over there, and I just did a good job. And in recognition, they gave me this role to help essentially create a new gym structure, a new sales marketing structures and funnels and processes. So I'm very excited about that, expanding. Pretty much, you get to this level as a personal trainer. I don't know how many of trainers watch your content.
I would say a decent amount.
Yeah. I'm sure all of you can relate. You get to this level of being a personal trainer if you've ever worked in like these big box gyms where you kind of max out in that region, right?
Yeah.
You got to either expand into becoming a specialized trainer and you're going to sell very high ticket prices for specific individuals, or you go into like broader managerial fields, right? I feel like PT is just a starting point. It is a foundation for figuring out what you want in the health and fitness industry.
I feel like some people, though, they're content with that, but then it's like the same people that are content with working like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're content with doing that, but instead of 9 to 5, it's like
personal training.
It's to each their own, right? Like I can't comprehend like how someone is cool with like, it's not even a dollar amount per se if they're not growing. Yes. For me, it's a lot of matter of growing, but some people like don't care.
Yeah.
But that, to each their own, right? But then for the ones that care and they want a constant progression, and that's for me what helped a lot with my depression. That's a whole story for another day. But progressive overload. It's like I had something to look forward to and get better at. And then like I keep the same principles with business. You get better, you stack. You get better, you stack.
Build up your confidence.
Right. But then I think like that's the baseline, and that's the way it really should be. You shouldn't just go from whatever Joe Schmo to then manager, because if you haven't been a trainer, how are you going to manage? If you haven't eaten the shit sandwiches and been through the dirt, how are you going to be able to relate or comprehend and like help, right?
Yeah. That is a failing project waiting to happen.
Well, it's just not going to end up well, right? So for you, like, I think your main thing when we talked on the phone was like your main thing you're focused on, like improving sleep, improving habits.
Okay, so I have that role in that health and fitness club, but then in my own practice, my own approach, I started off as you would as a generic trainer, like, I'll help you lose weight and build muscle. Okay, cool. And then, as I started developing in my own, ability to understand scientific literature, and I was becoming more educated, and I suppose deep in my thought process, I was like, there's really underlying factors in here. And the one that was throwing everything off was the could I say neurological side and the sleep side. Sleep is so important. I actually think if you're going to work on something first, work on your sleep.
It is for sure
arguably the easiest one to work on, unless you have some kind of sleep disorder.
Yeah.
But it is so foundational, because if you get a good night's sleep, right? I've got the Whoop. I track my sleep. I'm very keyed in with my sleep. And you'll notice just the profound shift on how easy it is to lose weight if your sleep is good.
That's
like,
true.
Holy shit, is it difficult to lose weight if your sleep is bad? Like your ghrelin levels, your cortisol, everything is so high that you're not composed and balanced. You are looking for those insulin spikes. You are looking for that excess glucose, right? As you've got no impulse control.
Yeah, the cravings are all over the place. For sure. Hormones. For sure, dude.
Get your sleep on track, and you will be amazed at your caliber and capacity that you have right? To perform in your weight loss, at your work, in whatever area of your life. So I think sleep is foundational. It is literally, you can get better at everything by doing nothing and sleeping more and sleeping better. Is that not crazy?
No, that's great. I think that's a very good point. I'm a big advocate of it. I'm not necessarily as
passionate, maybe.
Yeah, but it's not that I'm not passionate. I'd rather someone just figure out how to do their macros. But like, it's a big proponent of it, and I feel like a lot of people lose sight on that. Like,
you have to do it with your macros.
Yeah. But if it was and I tell this to clients all the time. I mean, I know you will attest to this. If it's literally a matter of you going to the gym, or you getting more sleep, get the fucking sleep. I understand some of you want to work out, and I get that. That's amazing. Yeah. But like, if it's a matter of you going to the gym and like then sacrificing 2 or 3 hours of sleep, go get the sleep. You will literally burn more as you rest, right? And then everything you mentioned. So I know it's a little bit of a segue, but you seem to know a lot about sleep. I know a decent amount on how to optimize your sleep.
Okay.
What would you say are like some key strategies you would recommend? Like, if I was a Joe Schmo, I was like 50 years old, I want to lose weight, but my sleep is shit. Like, what
specifically for weight loss.
Well, yeah. Is there a difference? Like, for like building muscle for weight loss, or
no. Like not necessarily in like a hypertrophic view, but if you want to optimize your sleep for weight loss, there's a few things we can go about this.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I would say if you're looking to lose weight, I would say construct your diets in a way where your big meals are not within like 2 to 4 hours before you go to bed.
Yes,
preferably
for sure.
Higher. You'll help avoid some of the bloating and water retention for the next day. As well as you'll have, but it eliminates, the biggest one, it actually eliminates night binging. You say, okay, 7 o'clock, no more food because I'm going to bed at 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're done and you get into that habit, and then where's the night binging? It's gone because automatically you've changed your mindset. And you're not even trying to fight the night binging. You're trying to get better sleep, so you've got a positive spin, which in psychology is huge, right? Yeah. You're trying to build those positive behaviors, and you're not trying to like push away the negative ones. You just replace them with a positive one. So eliminating night binges, not eating big meals like close to bedtime, huge. But in general, aside from like weight loss specifically, you want to sleep in a cold, dark environment.
100%.
Right? You can do more research on what that suits you, experiments. But
they even have, sorry to cut you off, they even have, for some people, it's fucking expensive, but they even have covers that you can put over your bed.
I've been wanting to get one.
I want to get. There's some of them are so expensive, dude. If I get one before you, I'll let you know.
Hey man, when we blow up in our health and fitness ventures, we can
definitely
get the whole sleep.
Well, for me, it's a fucking write-off too. That's the thing. But I agree. It's DRA. It's not a write-off. CRA. It is a write-off. I don't know. That's an issue for my accountant. But
well, you know what? It is an experiment. And if you're experimenting on your own health to incorporate something into your practice,
I think it's a gray area. I just think it's one of those things that is a very large chunk of change to where it might raise some alarm flags. So I don't know, but on the topic of temperature, that's huge. And then I don't know what your thoughts on, but I also have an adjustable bed. Because I used to have really chronic bad back pain. Yeah. Like I couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes. Bro.
Wow, man.
My lumbar didn't exist.
Yeah, no, that excess weight really does a lot on you.
Well, because of gravity, and I held all my weight in my abdomen.
Man, I get you.
Right. So one of the things that helped me, I also have an adjustable bed, kind of like a hospital bed, but it's not really a hospital bed. It's like I can raise my feet up, and then also now.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, I'm describing for some people.
Oh, for the viewers. Okay.
I know. I would have gathered you know what an adjustable bed is. But yeah, it also helps because when I sleep on like a bed that's super flat, I find that like I'm choking. So when I also raise it up a bit.
You mentioned you may have sleep apnea.
I haven't had confirmation yet. I'm almost confident I have it because I'm like waking up frequently in the night, and I'm not like gasping for air, but it's very likely that when I'm asleep, I'm probably choking because I'm waking up, my throat, my throat is sore, my mouth is dry. And the one thing that has helped, and I feel like my throat is like less like I'm quacking like a duck, is now I've elevated my bed even higher. So it's like if I put an incline, it's probably around like a 35-degree incline, and it was at like a 10-degree incline before. So that's helped, but most people don't have the luxury of that. But definitely with the cooling area, that's really important because I'm sure it helps with your circadian rhythm. I'm sure you'll get into like if your body temperature is hot, you can't cool like it's like mimicking the womb. The womb is not hot, right?
The womb is not hot.
Like when you're a baby, right? It's the same. Like when,
body temperature.
Yeah. So when someone's like, like when what's fetal position?
Yeah.
That's one of the most optimal ways, in my opinion, to sleep. It's because you're mimicking as you were as a child, right? And it's one of the most comfortable ways as well, right? So some people, they like if a lot of people sleep in the fetal position, and it's the most comfortable because you're mimicking how you were in the womb as a kid. And I can't remember, but there are definitely benefits or reasons psychologically behind that. But also, just on the topic of sleep position, if someone's sleeping on your stomach, like face down, that's really bad for your back.
Yeah, that is one of the sleeping positions you would want to reconsider.
Yeah, and then I also have, over the years, I've had a lot of clients that sleep on their side, and then their shoulders are messed up, or their pec minor's messed up. Yeah. And I'm not saying you can't sleep on your side. You can't sleep on your shoulder and your pec and entrap it. You need to kind of like lean back and open up a bit.
Yeah. You if you want to sleep on your side, you have to put your arm underneath your pillow.
Yep.
And stay in external rotation. It also helps if you're going to sleep in fetal position. Have you tried this? You put a pillow between your knees.
So I have the best setup, bro. I have 6 pillows.
Six pillows.
I have, so first for the external rotation with the shoulder, if anybody is curious, I think it's called a C pillow or a cuddle pillow, where you could get that and it kind of loops under. Yeah. And so, because if you're sleeping on your shoulder or on your side, that's fine, but get that pillow, because then you're not entrapping your pec and you're not entrapping your rotator cuff. And over the years, I've worked with so many clients, they have basically like a non-existent, like almost frozen shoulder. It's not that bad, but like their pec minor, their pec major, their whole shoulder complex of that area is fucked because 10 hours a night, they're entrapping it. My setup, I have a pillow for each of my elbows, so that's 2. I have 1 under my head / neck, that's 3. Actually, no, I have 4. I downgraded. I used to have 6 because I used to also have a wedge for my foot, but then I got the adjustable base. But then I have a 5-foot cuddle pillow, where I like hug it, and then it goes in between my legs as well. I'm telling you, anybody, if you want to just like get more comfortable sleep, I'm not necessarily saying it's going to optimize it, okay? But if even if you can't afford to get an adjustable base and you just want really, really comfortable sleep, and also more optimal positioning, so you're not like entrapping anything like your shoulder, because I used to entrap my pec minor actually, and I literally I still can't hold a barbell. You could probably tell, like if I go to side view, I can't externally rotate.
Your external rotation is a bit low.
It's garbage. I literally could not hold a barbell still.
Wow.
And so because of that, I started putting a pillow under each elbow. Yeah. So then that's more comfortable, and then the cuddle pillow also helps because I'm in the fetal position.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, anyways, kind of tangent on that, but so we were at the sleep optimization and the making the area colder, right?
Yeah. You want to think of a few areas. You want to think of what kind of light is hitting your retinas.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to have dim, non-centralized lighting, so not from above. So like lights with very warm tones, so getting rid of all the blue light.
Like lamps.
Lamps, but with no blue light.
Yeah.
Obviously, put your blue light settings on your phone automatically when sunset happens. If you want to be extra extreme, you can wear your blue light blocking glasses like after 4 p.m.
Okay.
Just in general.
Yeah.
Those are some of the main points for sleep optimization. And yes, your bed is for sleeping. Like you psychologically associate different places and different activities with. Yeah. So don't go to your bed and start doom scrolling. Yeah. Like leave the phone, doom scroll on the couch if you must. Yeah. If you must doom scroll, leave the phone on the couch. 100%. And then go into bed.
Well, I would say the same thing with like food or eating.
Yes.
Right. I that's one thing I never crossed the boundary on, which I'm shocked of. But like I never associated my bed. 100% was always for sleep. Yeah. Right. It was never like I think that's that. I'm not a psychology major, but I know without saying specifics, right, that if you probably bring your food to your bed, that's just not logical long term.
Oh man, it is so destructive. Right. It's so destructive, and
and then you're just gonna think more about food, and then you're gonna then you're gonna eat and then go to sleep. I don't know.
That's what happened. I had the food in my nightstand, brother.
Oh, seriously?
That's what I was saying.
And then you'd wake up and there we go.
In my nightstand.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. That's what I'm saying. Get the food out the bedroom. If you do that, not a good idea. So yeah, you as you were saying, you associate it. So you want to keep your bed for sleeping. So when you go there, it's dimmed out, it's black. You haven't eaten. You've got a lot of melatonin in your system because you haven't been exposed to the blue light. Caffeine intake, avoid it past 12 p.m.
Or avoid. I normally say because it depends on the person, but I just typically say cut it out like 10 hours prior to sleep.
Exactly. Yeah. But some people can buffer out caffeine from their they're synapses, they're synaptic gaps. So science. Some people can get rid of caffeine faster than others.
Yeah.
But in a general rule, 10 hours is great.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that caffeine has less of an effect on, but I feel like a lot of people with ADHD, they...
Oh, you have ADHD too?
Oh, very, 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 very. You have ADHD?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look, we are brothers. We are brothers. What could have been? I don't know. The similarities is pretty crazy.
It is.
But yeah, I was diagnosed when I was like 4.
Okay.
And I've been on meds for it for like 20 years. The meds that I'm on now is more like a long release one.
Okay.
So it's just, I take it before I go to sleep, and it makes me like, it doesn't do that great. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it just prevents me from like singing all the time or like humming. It removes a little of the ADHD. Okay. But as you can probably tell, like, I'm sitting right now. I'm not standing. I'm not saying you're much better at this than me. Like, you're not moving or fidgeting that much. I do it all the time. Right. And I'm on meds for it. So, I don't know. I think ADHD is a superpower if you use it wisely. Some people use it as an excuse and falters.
Tell me more about that. How did you turn your ADHD into superpower?
Okay, so I have incredible work ethic, right?
I can see that. I can see that.
But ADHD is a superpower, but it could also be a crutch. So I'm the same guy that was playing video games for 16 hours a day. And then I'm the same guy that's like working 80, 90 hours a week, having a 6-figure business. So there's very large extremes. And there was a long time where I used that as an excuse. I used that as a crutch. I also was diagnosed with ODD and ADD.
Me too.
ODD. Holy fuck, that's crazy. Yeah. That's great. And that's like a unique Pokemon.
That is
right?
Yeah, man. That's insane, actually.
And so I think I found my long lost brother, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't have the sick South African accent, but I blame my mom because she like had me here.
Yeah, she.
Right. So like my
mom's.
You
probably were right to leave though. South Africa's a
it's
a place nowadays, eh?
It's not great. It's not good. At least we're white, but that's a whole. Sorry, that's a NSFW joke. But if anybody knows what I'm talking about, it's nothing against non-white people, by the way. It's not a great place to be if you're not. But it's like Serbia. But I went to Serbia, by the way. It's great if you're white. But anybody would attest to that. Anyways, point is. Where was I? Yeah, it could be as a superpower, right? It's on the spectrum of like autism, right? So it's like I'll like have like tantrums sometimes if someone like, yeah, to the degree of like autism, like I'll have tantrums. Like if someone were to come into the podcast studio and like just move everything, I'd flip the fuck out. And it wouldn't be like a normal flip out. Like I would scream and cry at the same time. That's happened like a couple times before where like my mom like rearranged the basement when I was like 14. And like my basement was like my sanctuary. I had like all these posters up of like wrestlers. People thought it was gay because it was just like I had a bunch of posters of half naked men. No, I just like wrestling.
I had the bodybuilding posters. I had Ronnie Coleman.
That's gayer, man.
It's not, bro. Right? Ronnie Coleman on your bedroom when you're 14.
Okay, actually, that's pretty sick. That's pretty sick.
It's like the standard.
It should be the standard. It should. I had like John Cena. I had Batista.
I loved that when I was a child too. That was my childhood.
So I came back from sleepover camp and she put like fucking flowers on the wall, and I went ape shit. But kind of getting off the topic, like I know a lot of people nowadays, they think they have ADHD or ADD, whatever. But some people that have actually been diagnosed, right? Like they use it as a crutch, or like I know some of them that have it and they're like just not motivated. I don't know why that is, but I can use it to my benefit because I can outwork pretty much anyone that I know, right?
You may be able to outwork me. I will admit that because I'm a bit more balanced with this now.
But it's good and it's bad. Like, it's bad because I'll go to sleep. I can't sleep at night sometimes because my brain doesn't shut off.
I get that. I get that.
Right?
It happens.
But it's also good because my brain works in really weird ways where I'll be walking the dog and then I'll just like think of some random shit and then I'll, you
gotta run and take notes and
so one thing that if anybody who has this, like one thing that I can tell you, there's a couple different tools that you can use. Everybody's gonna work in different ways. Whichever way you throw a stick at it, you need to like have some type of notebook or not even a journal. You need to have some type of reminder or to-do list because ADHD people have such short-term memory. For sure. And so when it's in your brain, you need to write it down so you fucking remember it. Otherwise, I can't remember what we talked about 5 minutes ago. Like genuinely. Yes. Right? I think it was something about sleep. But before that, no clue. Yeah. Right? So that's why like when we're talking here, I write stuff down. Right? But the one thing that's helped me over the years for sure would have been the I have like a reminder app on my phone, which I have like an iPhone. Everybody has this. But I use it a specific way. For most people, there's a thing called, I think it's called Notion. No, it's called Motion AI.
Motion.
There's a different thing called Notion.
Yeah.
Notion and Motion is like one letter off. That's why I always get confused. But there's a thing called Motion AI where it's connected to your Google Calendar or whatever calendar you use. And it's basically not really a virtual assistant. It's just
optimizing your calendar.
Yeah, you've heard of it?
I tried it out. I actually found I had better success when I just used my own Google Calendar.
But exactly. So whichever way you throw a stick at it, you don't need to use Motion. I suggest Motion for people that say, I'm too busy. I can't write shit on a calendar. But for you and me, I do the same thing. So like I'm very time oriented, very anal with that. Everything's scheduled on a clock, and then I have a bunch of reminders to remind me to do a lot of stuff.
Agreed.
Right?
Same. I use Google Calendar to the fullest extent.
Yes.
Like if I have anything, it goes on the calendar. Like if I'm gonna meet you for coffee, it's on the calendar.
I do the same thing, bro.
Yeah.
And then I don't forget. Also, that's the thing.
You don't forget. If you got ADHD, you gotta have the starter pack, man. You gotta have Google Calendar set up and working.
Yeah.
If you can afford it, Doodle is great, or Calendly.
Yes.
Some kind of booking service, and then Trello, or some kind
Trello.
of some kind of.
What do you use Trello for?
I basically use it to get a mind map of what's going on in my head and put it out there so I don't forget about details in a visual way.
Okay, interesting. So we might get into it in terms of sales and marketing, but one of the things that I use Trello for, and that's why I asked, there's something called, what was it? Zapier. Do you know Zapier?
Yes.
Okay, so I used to use Zapier for two things, to Zap to Slack, and you don't need Slack, you can just use Discord now. But then I would use a Zapier to Trello because I had my CRM on Trello.
Okay.
I know we talked about a CRM with GHL,
yes.
so that's a bit better. So you don't necessarily need to,
Yes.
but if a dumbed down version of it, it depends how you're doing it. But you could send a Zap to Trello, and then you have different columns on the Trello, and then it's just like the little box thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the ADHD. I used it as a crutch for a long time, and then it goes hand in hand with like weight loss and whatnot, right? I'm very black and white. There's absolutely zero gray. There's never ever going to be gray. I'm very blunt, and some people like that, some people don't. I'm bad with my filter. That's why I got suspended a lot with school, right? And so if there's pros and cons. I'm at the stage now. I'm my own business, right? So I don't need to like listen to authority. When I was younger, it was really bad because I was like 12 going on 20. So it was like more matter of like emotional like immaturity, but then high degree of maturity. So I didn't respect the teachers who didn't respect me.
Right.
And so then I would make that very abundantly clear, and I would get suspended.
Right. Yeah.
Then there were some other aspects where, like with ADHD, I don't know about you, I have a very short fuse when it comes to anger. It goes 0 to 60 really quick.
I used to.
And so like I threw a chair at someone's head. Right? Or I was playing video games and I gave myself a concussion. I literally ran in. This also had to do with like testing different ADHD drugs, but I ran my head into a wall and I gave myself a concussion. Right? Wow. So I was mad about the video game. I broke so many controllers, broke TVs. Yeah. Right? But it really helps now because I have a drive, I have a purpose, and I have a really good work ethic. And like, I'm not perfect. Like, I could definitely probably have more empathy. I really lack empathy, by the way. I think that's an ADHD thing as well. Like my sister got the empathy award in grade 3. I didn't get any of it. Like she just has 100% of the empathy between our genes. I can't feel empathy for feelings. I am not possessing of that. Like it's very hard for me to understand people's feelings, and sarcasm is another thing. I can't really understand sarcasm.
Which South Africans are famous for.
Yeah, I'm not good with that at all. Like I have to clarify all the time. Yeah. I think I have Asperger's, but I haven't been diagnosed with that. But anyways. A lot of people, whether it's ADHD, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, you're going to use this as a crutch. And this is also, I was on antidepressants. I tried to take my life twice. Like I know what depression is pretty well. You can't use that as a crutch. And then it goes hand in hand with people using keto or Weight Watchers. When you fail, you use that as a crutch and you blame that as the reason why you didn't have success. And you can't let that as a barrier. You can't use that as a crutch. You can't use that as like a weight on your ankle holding you back, because eventually, like not even eventually, you're just never going to have success, right? You have to find ways to overcome it and develop strategies for that. I mean, shameless plug, but then one of the ways I had success, you had success, was we had a coach or a trainer, right? And so it's a mentor. I call him more of a life coach now, right? And because he didn't just help, like, bro, when you have a good coach, here's the difference between a good coach and a trainer. He didn't give me like a fucking diet plan and workout plan. Right. I can also call him and ask him for advice about X, Y, like dating advice, I'm depressed advice. Hey, you want to go grab drinks? Okay, maybe not drinks. That's a bad example. Maybe we want to go shoot pool, right? I'm not saying every trainer needs to take you out to shoot pool, right? But good coaches like me, and I'm sure you, like, I really give a shit about a lot of clients. And it's like, it's not, I don't put on a facade. I don't take a client to the Blue Jays game because I want more of their money, right? Like, I just like hanging out with them. I develop a personal relationship with them, right? And I genuinely give a fuck. How do we get on this topic? Oh, we both have ADHD. Yes.
20 minutes, 2 hours later, you know.
Yeah, that's typically what happens. Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. But I guess back to you. So we talked about the sleep optimization.
Yes.
So that's the number one thing you would say, like, anybody struggling with weight loss, like, if you optimize your sleep, it will significantly help that, right?
Not necessarily weight loss, just if you...
Health and fitness.
Health and fitness.
Yes.
If you, like, wake up and you're like, I got to do something about myself, obviously getting your vitals and going to a doctor,
Yes.
but out of the 4 or like 5 areas, if we can both agree, sleep, nutrition, training, mental health, and social relationships are the foundation for a healthy life.
Definitely.
Also your environment, like living in South Africa and some cities, pollution, but we'll discard that for now.
Yeah.
Sleep is the first thing I tackle, because without good sleep, it makes the rest so much harder.
Yeah, man.
And with good sleep, it just makes the rest so much easier.
Yeah, man.
You can put in less effort just because you have better sleep.
Well, and then you're less, like,
outperform.
required to, like, I know when I had shitty sleep, I'm going to have an energy drink. And then that's like a like, that's going to block your hormones. Then you're more dependent on caffeine. That's going to fuck up your sleep, your appetite. Yeah. So, I mean, some people need caffeine either way. I would say some people consume way too much caffeine.
I think we generally overconsume caffeine.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to avoid having too many stimulants at the moment, because it is tough when you're like trying to lose weight and you hop on the caffeine to lose weight because it's got that appetite reduction.
Yeah, dude.
Have you ever tried the caffeine ephedrine? You've never
Ephedrine?
Ephedrine.
No. I mean, when I have been cutting in the past, one thing that helps me significant thing is I would work out fasted.
Yeah.
And then I would have a pre-workout, right? I'd work out fasted. I'd push my fat. I would push the fast to like noon, have a pretty decent meal, and then I would wait an hour and then have another energy. I have an energy drink, and so then I could go from like 2 to 5.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm at 1,000 calories by 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I could eat whatever the fuck I wanted basically for another 1,000 calories, but then I was at like 0.5 gram of caffeine a day. So, and when for most people, actually, that's not even that high, but that for me, like, that's not good.
No, especially if you have ADHD. Like ADHD and caffeine can be, it's nuanced. It can help you focus, but it can also be extremely difficult to stop those thought streams with those caffeine.
Yes.
That's why I stopped, is because it was like the rate of thought process was too high, and I could not.
You couldn't write down fast enough what was going in your brain.
No, I just could not chill, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't relax. I was just getting stressed out. I was like,
For me, I thankfully I never had that. Like, I'm drinking an energy drink right now.
I can see that.
Right, but it's not like I never. It doesn't make me like super jittery.
Yeah.
Right. I'm kind of chill.
Yeah.
Right. I just did it right now because I'm still dealing with the chronic fatigue, and like I didn't get as many hours of sleep last night than I normally would have.
Because of the CME. And then, again, because the eating, you're not fully sleeping.
Yeah.
It's very nuanced.
It's all like, it's like the recycling sign. It's all like, it all comes back full circle.
Agreed. And I know to all of you guys listening, I hope you're relating to this. It sounds crazy, and I don't think anyone has fully got all of those bases covered, those 5 bases we spoke about. But taking one positive step at a time is the road to completion of all of it. Like along your health and fitness journey, your weight loss journey, it is one step after the other. So although that seems overwhelming and you're like, oh, I've got to manage now friends and family, and what are you talking about, guys, on this podcast? I want to lose weight. It starts slow. Start with one, even if it's just like, okay, I'm simply just going to replace some of my junk food with apples. Okay, at least you've got one positive thing done. And you build on it slowly.
So I have a group chat. So I have a group chat with like 9 guys that are all in the similar spot. It's called the Chunky Boys group chat.
Okay.
I didn't make the name. They made the name. And they're all they're chunky boys. They're like extra puffy.
Extra puffy.
It's the chunky boy. It's the puffy chunky boys. And what I'm trying to ingrain into their brains, and like just to put it in perspective, like a lot of these guys, probably similar to some of you watching this, they're like between 30 and 40. They've been struggling with weight loss for a while. They're between 250 and 380, right? And different heights.
So these are some chunky boys.
So they're chunky boys, right? And I made the group chat because it's just an extra layer of motivation. but it's also to show them they're not alone on this journey. They're not on their own fucking island, right? A lot of people like that are suffering with weight loss and they've tried all these different things and they're struggling for many years. They think they're just like one of one. No, there's literally millions of you. But the thing that I keep indoctrinating into their brain, and our brains are different, and I'm black and white. So I had a coach, he gave me the plan, I followed everything to a T. Some people can't do that because they get overwhelmed. Or my position I'm grateful for, I didn't have school, I didn't have a job, I was financially supported by my dad, shout out to Puff Senior. So I had no priorities other than my full-time job was weight loss for the first 10 months.
Okay.
So some people have school, job,
yeah,
kids, or a combination of everything in between. And so to relate to your point, and what I tell them on an almost daily basis at this point, is just fucking start with one thing.
Yeah, man.
Right? And it's I use the Finding Dory analogy or the just keep swimming.
Yeah.
All you need to do is just keep swimming and just be consistent. Right?
Man, thank you for saying that. That was the thought that got me through this. I wanted to give up so many times, but there was that knowing. I had that faith in myself. As soon as you have that faith that you even if you've gained the weight back, but you're like, no, man, I'm not accepting this, and you have that tenacity to get back, and you just do not quit. You simply do not quit. You say, I fucked up, man. I gained 10 pounds more than I was supposed to. Like I started at 200, now I'm 210. Just don't quit.
Just don't
stay calm.
Like, it's you versus you.
It is,
right, and it's not. It's never going to be linear. It can't be perfect. If it was so easy, and if it was easy to accomplish, 65, 70% of North America wouldn't be obese, right? And that number is just going to keep getting higher and higher and higher, right? It's not going to go really much lower, and that's a whole like almost political debate on why. But it's just you need to go one step at a time. And I sent a message to one of the clients in the group chat, and he's going through some shit with like depression, and he told me last week, he's like, I'm going to restart next week, fresh start. And I knew, I between you and I knew what's going to happen. Because anybody that tells me, I'll wait till Monday. Yeah. This is literally why the podcast name is called Start Yesterday. The second best time is to start today. The first time, the better time is to start yesterday.
Oh, man.
So he tells me like, I'm going to start on Monday. I'm like, cool. And then Saturday comes around. I haven't heard anything from him. He hasn't sent me his steps, macros, nothing. And he's like, yeah, it's not been a good week. I'm like, okay, so what you're going to do, I sent him a voice message. I'm like, dude, you hear this voice message, get the fuck up and go for a 5-minute walk. So you're at 500 steps. Then tomorrow, you're going to do it again and get 505. And then you're going to get 510. Then you're going to get 600. Then you're going to get 1,000. That's all you're going to fucking do. Because he's like, I might meal prep today. I'm like, no, you're not. I was like, you can order McDonald's. I don't give a fuck. You're going to get off the couch and you're going to go for a 10-minute walk. And then tomorrow, you're going to either do it again or you're going to go for an 11-minute walk. And that's it. Because so many people get overwhelmed. They think they need to go from 0 to 60. All it is consistency, time over time. It builds and builds. And that's with business. That's with health. That's with a lot of things. But when we're talking about you being in a rut, not you, but like the person watching this, you're 300 pounds. It doesn't take you a year to get to 300 pounds. It takes you more likely than not a decade of neglect. And that's a lot of shitty habits.
Oh, yeah. And if I may add to that, it's taken you those decades or 2 decades to build up that psyche of yours, like your literal self, your psychological structure, your impulses. You've built that up. You've ingrained that. Yeah. You have created a mind that is prone to binge eating, to all of these conditions that are conducive of weight gain. Even your genetics, right? Maybe you're prone to binge eating from birth. Yeah. Maybe you were born into like an obese family. So you got to take that into account, and you got to understand that you're chiseling away at a stone. And it's going to take time for you to change your behaviors.
Yeah, and it can't happen overnight. I wish it could, right? And then it goes to maybe like what we'll talk about with instant gratification and people reaching out for all these crash diets or Ozempic. Yeah. Right? Like with not just instant gratification, but like Amazon Prime or TikTok, all you want is like quick results. And it's just, you can't, like, it literally doesn't make any fucking logical sense, right? Yeah. You can't gain 100 fucking pounds overnight. You can't lose 100 pounds overnight. And you can't gain. It's really difficult to gain 20 pounds in a month, right? Good luck. Genuinely, I don't care if you're 300 pounds. Good luck gaining 20 pounds a month. That's really hard to do. And it's really hard to lose 20 pounds in a month. Unless you're really, really, really heavy. And you're also like 100% following like X, Y, and Z plan.
And that is tough. There's very few individuals that can make that happen. And if you're one of them, that's cool. Yeah. But again, general population.
No, and I just feel like so many people, yes, there's a lot of nuances. Yes, there's a lot of things that people don't know. They don't know macros. They don't know. But then they overcomplicate shit. And then they get all overwhelmed over all this different shit. Yeah. And some people can just follow everything, right? But some people literally get overwhelmed and do nothing. instead of doing nothing and instead of giving up, it's a matter of consistency and then not failing.
That's why you have the coach there.
Right. And then, like, I mean, okay, I always preface this with like, I am literally biased and obviously I do it for a living, but I also, even if I wasn't a coach now, I literally would not have lost weight if I didn't hire a coach.
Agreed.
And I think it's blasphemy that like people will comment on my social media posts and they'll be like, oh, you don't need a coach. You don't need to just be in a caloric deficit. What the fuck? Like, it's so simple to put these little like 10 characters in a box and press send than actually doing it. Because that person that is literally like, I don't even know their username. I get this message all the time on like my YouTube shorts and this TikTok shorts. That like probable 15-year-old twerp has no idea what it's like to be in your shoes, my shoes, or that 30-pound or 30-year-old person who's been struggling with this since he was fucking 8 years old.
It is tough.
And like you, he's tried every diet under the sun, and he loses 20, he gains 20, and he's at the point of contemplating fucking suicide because he can't lose the fucking weight.
Oh yeah, and man, everything is just shit when you're that big. Right? Like, no matter how you want to say it, like you call it a spade. Yeah. This is something that I'm gonna mention, and it is my controversial take. You ready, Adam? Man, body positivity, I hear you. You want to be happy with yourself. Listen, both Adam and myself, we are chunkier gents, right? I find it hard to get below 12% body fat. Yeah. Right? I am bigger, but I am not above 15% body fat. Like, you can get below 15% body fat, unless you're like the 1% of the population with some thyroid disorder. Yeah. Man, I can tell you from being fat, you know very well, no matter how much you try and manipulate it, you know you don't like yourself. Yeah. Deep down, and everything, it changes every single thing in your life. Everything, that self-perception, there's no getting around. It haunts you, your dreams, your relationships, your employment, man. I would not be in any position, or nowhere near, and you too, if I was that man.
I literally got fired from my first job because I was fat. I couldn't stand. I'm not joking. My back pain was so bad because of how fat I was. They fired me because I was sitting.
God damn, brother.
Yeah,
that is.
Oh. But that's a valid point. Like, I don't think it's that controversial. It's controversial to people that are overly sensitive, in my opinion. I have a funny joke actually on this topic. There's a shout out to, I think it's Jeff Dye. People will be like, "Oh, Lizzo's so beautiful," but then when I'm like, "You're as beautiful as Lizzo," people don't find that funny. Now, most of the homies that watch this, they know I hate Lizzo. I actually don't mind her music. I hate the person. But that, because she's like the face of this delusional body positivity mindset, where it's like, if I would promise $1 billion fucking dollars if you put her on a lie detector test, because if she told you not on a lie detector, she's gonna bullshit because that's her image. But if she clicked the button, she's pressed the magic button, and she's not a fat fuck, and she's not 400 pounds, and she's whatever, let's say some healthy goal weight, okay? She shouldn't have to be going on Victoria's Secret model runways, all right? She can just be 200 pounds and be a little chubby. Yeah. She would click that fucking button.
I've heard of that debate before, yeah?
I can't like, there is absolutely zero shot, like, that she loves her body the way that she actually says, right? Because there's no way, like, she doesn't exude confidence. And then these people, maybe Lizzo's one of one. Maybe she is the only person on earth that she could be that size, but there's people that look up to her as like their role model. But then they develop like this delusional thing.
Can I elaborate? In psychology, we have a lovely term called cognitive dissonance. Okay. Right? You have an idea of yourself. Yes. And then you have the reality. Yeah. And when that idea doesn't meet the reality, you'll do one of two things. You'll delude yourself into thinking you are the reality, and you'll say, I did that when I was fat. I got proud of it. I'd become proud of how much I could eat. I would joke with my other fat friends and be like, look how fat we are. No, like, literally, look how fat we are. Man, this is so funny. What the fuck? Or you could be like, okay, man, cognitive dissonance, I need to change. Like, there's something wrong with this. And I'm not saying that's what Lizzo's doing, right? But people can change their ideas and opinions based on this, based on cognitive dissonance, the theory of cognitive. Maybe she is starting to identify that being fat is good. But I will argue, in conjunction with your point, that we exist as humans in a broader spectrum, right? From an evolutionary perspective, social perspective, on the mating matrix, right? Like, we are predisposed to admire a certain kind of body type for men and women. Nature has designed this for a reason. We were not designed to be that big.
That's so true.
Evolution, natural selection did not curate us out to be that big. Yeah. That is modern intervention, junk food. And that is not a good modern intervention.
Well, it's the same thing with vegans.
Veganism is an interesting one.
Well, when you bring up like our ancestors,
Yeah.
vegans literally like they died.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Here's where we might diverge in our paths, because so far we've been in agreement on a lot of things. All right. So let's battle this agreement one, right? All right. I'm going to give you my statement on veganism. I think veganism is morally superior.
What do you mean?
Morally.
Like, what's morally?
There's no getting around it. Like, you cause less suffering to animals.
Oh, okay.
You cannot say it is from that perspective. Veganism is the most morally superior diet.
I can attest to that. I will give you that.
Yeah. If you disagree with that, man, I think you need to see us.
Well, just be based off of like how much pollution and all and the greenhouse gases.
Animal cruelty, right? Animal cruelty reasons.
I don't really care about. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't fuck with my dog, but other than that, like, I don't really care.
You may explore more, and you may start caring at some point.
Maybe, but I like steak.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, but from that perspective, now we're reaching this crossroads as a species, right? Where we're no longer, and this is a little bit of a not pie in the sky, but this is like an embarkment into the future. We're reaching a stage for the first time where we can step away from harming animals to sustain a following diet. I think your macros are your macros and your macros are your macros. And if you can get that from a vegan source and be healthy, perfect. That's why I follow a pescatarian approach.
Okay.
Right? It's the least cruel that I'm willing to do right now.
Okay.
Right?
I don't have like any issues. I have issues with vegans that like are the crazy vegans where they're like, I can't do this, that, and the other thing because it's or they won't go out like to a restaurant with friends because they're gonna eat a steak, or like they'll cry watching someone eat a steak or a burger.
Look, vegans, I get you.
Right.
I get you.
But on the same spectrum, when, and I don't think it's there yet, but when there is like 3D printed lab meat and the macros aren't shit, I don't care.
I argue that if we do that, we could actually create better quality meat through lab meat.
I don't disagree.
We could regulate that, and that could become really cool. We could make that and that's actually something I'm really interested in. I'm fascinated with that. But no, I agree with you. And I think vegans they need to understand that it's like, it's tough, right? Because people that eat meats are not in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be carnivore. Carnivore was my biggest diet.
That's crazy.
Brother, I was on that. I was like the what is his name? Not Liver King, the other one, Paul Saladino. Man, I was eating raw beef liver on a weekly basis. No, like I was carnivore. I need to show you some photos. I'll show you some photos after this. But I was man, like I deleted them off my Instagram when I became pescatarian. That fasting time, I was following something similar, man. I was just eating steak and like veggies. But prior to that, no, I was a carnivore for a long time. So I get it. You got to have patience and educate them. Right? You can't just judge them, right? Like just as Jesus, I'm not getting religious about this.
Shout out to Jewish Jesus.
Not getting religious. I am very, very not religious. I'm not religious. Right? My family comes from.
What is your background? I'm just curious.
So it's actually very fascinating because we're South African. I come from my ancestors come from all different countries in Europe and even like India.
Oh, okay.
And like even some in like America.
Okay.
So I've got a big mix of cultural diversity. From my mother's side, we have like Dutch Jewish blood. From my father's side, we have a whole mix of Catholic and Protestant.
Because my mom was Jewish.
No religion.
But I'm not sure which Jewish. But like, do you identify as in a religion, or you're like a free spirit?
I wasn't ever in my family. We never practiced a religion.
Oh, okay.
We were very agnostic.
Oh, okay. So you didn't do Christmas, Hanukkah.
We did cultural Christmas, but we never. I just got presents, man.
Oh, okay.
My parents just bought me presents.
Good. No, that's why I asked. Like, that'd be a shitty childhood if you didn't get anything. Like, I got Hanukkah instead of Christmas.
Oh, you got Hanukkah? Yeah. No, we just followed whatever the cultural norm was, but we didn't practice it. How about you? Are you practicing it?
No, I'm a very shitty Jew. I'm agnostic. I'm not agnostic. I'm agnostic. I'm not atheist. Yeah. Atheists are crazy. But agnostic is like, I think there's something of a higher power. I think you can convince me that someone or something created dinosaurs, and then dinosaurs maybe. I'm a man of science or like facts. We come from apes, so like I'm not saying if anyone's Christian watching this, you can believe in Adam and Eve. Like that's fine. I just know like. I love the Planet of the Apes movies.
Scientific consensus is that is not looking like the most probable way we originated.
What, Adam and Eve?
Yeah.
No, we came from apes, right? Yeah. It's just evolution, like caveman and then whatever.
I have a take that Adam and Eve could be an illusion. To the fact that we came from apes.
Maybe we're in a simulation and like the aliens are just programming our
mind. Man,
I know with the way my brain works and how little of a filter I have, there's no way they can program this as like a Sims game. Like there's no simulation there. Maybe some people are like 9 to 5. You ever watch the movie Free Guy?
I haven't watched it.
That's a great movie. It's like an NPC character with Ryan Reynolds. That I can understand if that's a simulation.
Okay.
But like the way my life works, like and my brain works, there's no way this is a simulation. Like my legs tattoos. Like you can't simulate that, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, how do we get on this topic? We got on the topic of like the
Jesus.
body positivity, the veganism, and should we talk about Ozempic?
Okay, we can talk.
Because coming up to this, so for anybody that didn't know, like we Justin and I had a couple conversations, and I was like, the one thing I wouldn't say we disagreed on it, we just had different outlooks on it.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, a lot of people watching this who knows me, like I'm completely adamantly against it. Like if I had a dying wish, literally, like if I died today, it would be to, in my wish, I had Aladdin, like Robin Williams genie, because the Will Smith one sucks. If it were Robin Williams genie popped up, I get one wish, not three, because I'm dying today. It'd be to dispose Ozempic, like no more, unless you're specifically using it for the design purpose of diabetes, because I have nothing against that, right? But then on the other spectrum, a lot of people got to that position that are type 2 diabetic, like me, because they neglected themselves, and then they're like jumping at the opportunity to like revert that.
Man, I get exactly where you're coming from. Okay, let's preface this. I am not pro Ozempic.
Okay.
And I'm not an MD.
What's that? Oh,
medical doctor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I am not that.
Well, actually, sorry to cut you off, but most medical doctors, they
Yeah.
only need 1 hour of nutrition in Canada to become a doctor.
It is scary.
And so when your doctor is not healthy themselves,
Yeah.
my family doctor when I was younger, I'm not going to name his name, he was 280 pounds.
You'd be so surprised.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my family pediatrician doctor, he was 280, 250. He's telling a kid who's the same weight as him, hey, you need to change. You're going to be unhealthy. You're going to die.
Yeah.
How the fuck can I take that guy seriously? I'm not saying if you're a doctor, you need to be shredded. No.
Lead by example.
But if you're a heavy individual and you're doing the logical thing and reaching out for medical advice, and their solution is to give you a fucking needle to jab into your ass, maybe think twice. Call me crazy. Maybe the doctor should tell you, hey, fat ass, go for a walk and eat less. But that is like a crazy concept.
Let me play the devil's advocate. Because on one hand, I really do agree with you. Because you have to get around this and get yourself in check. You have to control or learn how to manage your impulses to eat. Right? That's what you got. That's what a diet is. Managing your impulses so you eat strategically and consciously.
Yep.
And you don't just binge and eat a bunch of junk food unconsciously.
Yep.
Agreed. Okay. With that in mind, and I agree that is the best way. That is the best way.
Yep.
But what if you have even someone like me, who naturally likes to eat more, maybe genetically. What about someone who just wants the appetite-reducing effects of Ozempic?
I would say to find solutions that goes back to the binge eating things. Find solutions that's going to fill up your stomach capacity. Because
let's say we've done that.
Okay, well then they have them. The biggest issue and beef that I have with Ozempic is people get on this and think they're going to just magically lose weight. That's one. Number two, I've talked to, at this point, 50 different people. I can say that wholeheartedly. Not all of them are clients. I have current clients that took Ozempic, did it, they lost weight, gained it right back when they stopped it.
That is a very non-con about Ozempic.
Because a pharmaceutical company is not making things for you to. They're not designing things for you to not be dependent on it for the rest of your life. Yeah. They are a company. They want you to use it for good, right?
Well, but that's big pharma is big pharma, right?
The worst thing about it, I have a friend, she's a nurse. They literally get you to suppress your appetite by making you feel like shit, by making you feel nauseous and vomiting.
Really?
And I don't know the exact ideology behind this, but every client I've ever talked to, every person that have used Ozempic, they've all said the same thing. I felt like shit. I was nauseous and throwing up. And then I tell this to the nurse and she laughs and she's like, yeah, I don't know why they're telling people to go on this. That's one of the biggest reasons and the biggest side effects from it. And that's actually one of the biggest reasons they have an appetite suppressant. It's literally making them nauseous. That's why they're not hungry. So that's fucking just illogical, right? And that's why a lot of people stop. And then when they stop, woohoo, you lost 20 pounds, 30 pounds using Ozempic because you're nauseous all the time and you feel like shit. And then you stop it and then it gains right back. So it's a completely lose scenario. There's no positive out of it unless you are literally prescribed it as the way it was designed because you're diabetic and it helps with your regulation of the. I don't care to do enough research on this about like the benefits of using it for like diabetes purposes. I just look at it from the weight loss.
Aside from that argument, okay. Now let's say, for example, someone like myself who's got 95% of the impulse control down, right? Like lost all the weight. Now I want to step on stage, right?
Yeah.
What happens if I used, I'm not saying I will, just hypothetically.
Well, a lot of people are doing that now in bodybuilding.
Hop on Ozempic and your cutting phase to help you reduce your appetite temporarily. And then when you come off, because you can control and you can control the rebound.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
What about that?
I think you're, honestly, I think you're you're almost better off at that point, in my opinion. If you're taking a needle and jabbing it in your ass, you're almost better off doing Anavar or Clen at that point. I mean, it's going to fuck up your organs. But at that point, you're doing it for the sole purpose. And like, correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm not saying you, but and there are people that are doing natural bodybuilding competitions or bodybuilders.
Is it a PED?
That's like almost saying me being on ADHD meds is a PED, because there was someone actually popped for Ritalin in the Olympics.
Really?
Which is fucked. Maybe it wasn't the Olympics. I think maybe it was the UFC or USADA. Oh, yeah? But I remember seeing that. I'm like, how is that even? That doesn't make any sense.
Because this is what I'm saying. Okay, but here, so considering someone like myself, compared to someone who's naturally lean, we both have to be in a certain conditioning.
Yes.
For the competition day.
Yeah.
If it is a lot easier, is it not just like a thing of equality? Because it's taking my desire to eat and matching his, so we can get to a similar leanness with.
I think that might be the only scenario in which I could be like, sure, I don't care, because that's not you're not using it like for you're technically using it for fat loss, but you're using it as an appetite suppressant, but you're not using that to go from 300 pounds to 200 pounds.
There is no way. No, okay, yeah. Again, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
But then also, if you're doing that, if you're thinking of and not you, but in general, in the hypothetical scenario, if you're thinking of using Ozempic to make your cut easier for stage, there's probably worse side effects but better benefits from using like a PED like Anavar or Clen. So it's kind of like the devil on one shoulder, the devil on the other. Unless you're doing a natural bodybuilding show, then that's a whole different story.
That is different.
Right? Yeah, but if you're trying to present your best package and you don't care about your kidneys, then take some fucking Anavar.
Or your mental health.
Right? No, Anavar Clen is not going to mess you up that much. But like, not that I would know. But like, the point is, that's probably the only like logical, quote unquote logical scenario in which I could be like, you know what, you want to say Ozempic, that's fine, right? But that's not what they designed it for, and that's not what people are using it for, and that's not why I'm mad about it.
That's not what like 99% of people are using Ozempic.
But in that scenario, absolutely zero issue. I'm just saying you probably have better success not using Ozempic, like just fucking Anavar or Clen.
I would have to do more research, but again, for natural body, different. Yeah, agreed. No, I agree with you. If you're taking Ozempic, I'm saying this is my deduction. Mm-hmm. If you're taking Ozempic to try and lose weight, it can be a useful tool for some with diabetes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But I would very, very much urge you to look at going into some therapy.
Yep.
Understanding the unconscious aspect to why you're in this situation. Work on your behaviors. Get in a better system. There's a beautiful quote: "You don't rise to the levels of your goals, but you fall to the levels of your system."
Oh, that's a good quote.
So get your system in check. Start small, like we spoke about, little steps. And if Ozempic is part of that, and you've really thought it through, and you've done your due research, and you still think it's a good idea, and you've got like second and third opinions by different doctors, and for some reason, then
that's fine, because they're making a logical, rational decision. But I've heard this from every person I've talked to. I went to my doctor and I told him and he knows that you have the weight loss issue, and he's like, okay, take Ozempic. Mm-hmm. That's it. They didn't get a second opinion. They didn't ask someone else that took it. They didn't do really any research because their doctor is now. And I don't know. And I'm not into like this whole do doctors get paid for pressing pushing pharmaceutical shit? I don't know. I don't care. I have my opinions on it. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying that doctors inherently wrong. They came out with this thing for weight loss. Doctors going to try to help their patient. I don't think that's the logical scenario to do. In my opinion, the logical scenario is what you said. Focus on habits, therapy, a coach, maybe a combination of both. Caloric deficit, walking, all this thing, jabbing a needle in your ass, not really the solution. Because it's also, the thing is, it can help temporarily. It will most logically will. Yeah. But what is the point in losing 20, 30, 50, 60, 100 fucking pounds if after you stop sticking the needle in your ass, it's going to gain right back because you have not developed any fucking habits. You just became nauseous and had an appetite suppressor. Yeah. Woohoo! You have an appetite suppressor. Yeah. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
But now all the weight's going to bounce back because you don't have that. You're dependent on this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Right? So then it's like it's never ending battle.
You also negate the personal development side of weight loss.
It's crazy, man.
Brother, because I don't know about you, but when I lost that weight, the confidence I got being like, I mastered that demon that haunted me for 10 years and caused me so much depression. I mastered that. What else can I do with my life?
That's a valid point. I mean, for me, when I look back at me at peak Puffy, it's really hard. Like my mind and my brain, everything. A 180-degree turnaround doesn't describe how impactful and much of a change it was. Like every aspect of my life is different, and it's hard for me to put myself back into the shoes of where it was, other than the pain that I was in.
Yeah.
Right. So I know how it's like to not like how you look in the mirror, have to have a seatbelt extender on a plane, or gasping for air, walking up a flight of stairs, all that stuff.
I don't know about you, but at peak puffiness, man, I couldn't bend onto my haunches. Like knee flexion.
You couldn't bring your knees to your chest?
No. So like getting into a deep squat was impossible.
Oh, I could, yeah.
But simply getting my hamstrings to touch the bottom part of my quads,
okay,
like getting into like your haunches, getting into like on your toes, and you go down. It was so painful.
I couldn't sit cross-legged. My hip flexors were so tight and so fucked. Like I couldn't sit cross-legged.
Do you still have like lingering pains from, or like not instabilities but asymmetries from your weight, from being so big? Because I'm gonna put this into perspective. My father's like 6'4".
Okay.
Right. I've got people in my family like 6'7".
Holy shit.
You know, and then look at me.
You're 6'1".
Yeah, but man, I think I was destined to be a lot taller. But I don't know if this is scientific, but I think all of that weight could have stunted my growth. And then I would actually like your opinion.
So I could say, as I got to peak puffy right before puberty stopped.
Okay.
And thank God I didn't wait another year.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think it necessarily stunted anything with my growth other than facial hair. So a lot of things to do with testosterone. My test levels, as you could imagine, as a 380-pound 17-year-old, was like non-existent.
Where are they?
It's not like I literally could wear a C-cup bra.
Again, leading back to the debate earlier of, are you truly happy at a large weight?
No, you're
Stop
not.
fooling yourself.
Right.
Look at your hormonal profiles. Your hormonal profiles as a man with that low test, good luck.
So when I went to my doctor and I asked him this question, and it's actually one of the only things that doctor actually told me that was intelligent, other than I was going to be dead by 24, which just simple math would have told you that. When you're a large kid, or any parent watching this who has a child who's fat or overweight or obese, just send them this clip. I couldn't see my dick in the mirror because I had more estrogen than testosterone. When you're a guy,
you should get your blood checked.
Yes, when you're that's why men who are fat have boobs. They have man boobs.
Yeah.
It's because they have more estrogen than they're supposed to because of the fat that they're intaking into their body. Mm-hmm. And so, as you could imagine, as a 17-year-old near 18-year-old kid, I had a really uncomfortable conversation with my doctor. I don't really care sharing it because I'm like proud of where I'm at now. I couldn't see my dick. Like, it was very small. Yeah. And I thought I had like a micro dick disorder, whatever it's called. I didn't. I just literally had no testosterone in my body to grow a dick. Right? So as ridiculous as this like conversation is coming out of my mouth, if you told a 13-year-old puffy, lose weight, you have a bigger dick, I would not have been 370. Right?
Hey, listen.
Right? So
crazy what will motivate men, eh?
I'm just saying, like, that's one of the biggest things that, like,
it's very true.
That's one of the biggest things I'm like that had to change. I don't know how I don't know how we got on that topic. But when you're a bigger, especially man, like, your test levels are gonna be wrecked. Like, my test still, like, oh, you asked me, like, did I have any lingering effects? That's probably like the one lingering effect. I'm happy to announce, like, my dick size is not the same, right? That's like not like equivalent. Woo! But in terms of other lingering effects, I mean, like, it took a long time. Like, I had to go to a chiropractor for like 2 years, 3 times a week for my lumbar spine to not be like dead. And a lot of I took a course. Shout out to Stu McGill from I think
Stu McGill.
Yeah, the McGill University. He's a fucking, if you know, like, super smart guy. Like, I took his back pain course. So I learned a lot how to improve the lower back pain, the spine, the exercises. So that was the one thing that was super lingering for a long time. Other than that, in terms of like asymmetry or like anything imbalance, nothing crazy, bro. The hip flexors were messed up for a long. Everything's been fixed now over time, but that's also coming from like learning, knowledge, improving, the coach, the trainer, chiro, like, and then the nutrition, the eating disorder that got improved on, and over time got better and better and better. The only thing that was lingering was the skin removal surgery, or the dead skin, and then I got that cut off, and well, I don't really regret it. It didn't bug me that much, genuinely, but it was more a matter of I didn't want to be 30 or 40 and have to do it then. Right?
My goodness, but where's your life gone? You've pretty much wasted your 20s and 30s.
No, but it wasn't bugging me that much with the dead skin.
Oh, sorry. Okay, no. I thought, never mind. I misunderstood. I thought you were saying I didn't want to lose the weight.
Oh, no. See, they fucking. If anybody tells me, I'm gonna kick them in the nuts. Oh, I'm 25 years old. Yeah, let me wait till I'm 40 to lose the weight. Yeah, sure. Okay, buddy. No, but with the skin removal surgery, I didn't want to wait till I was 40 or 30 because costs, right? Yeah. So it's a big chunk of change. And
elasticity too.
Yeah, and like I was just, it was also the recovery process. So like I'm in the position where I could take 2-3 weeks off of work. who knows if I'm 40 years old, if I have kids, like that's a lot to put on a potential wife or girlfriend or whatever. And it's just all the timing worked out for it to be now versus like, waiting till later, because I knew I can control now, and this is actually just a very valid statement in general. I know I could control the variables now. I don't know what the variables are going to be in the future, so I started yesterday. Oh, play on words with my podcast. Okay, so just to kind of, I guess, wrap everything up, we talked a lot. I got a little vulnerable. We talked about some things that maybe I'll regret in 10 years, but maybe not. I honestly, like, I feel like people are either going to like it or not. They're going to appreciate me being vulnerable or not. And it's just like, I'm authentic. And I feel like, honestly, I want to eventually get into like motivational speaking and like go to like a school. And maybe I'm not going to describe that story that I did in graphic detail. But if one person's watching this, or like if I'm talking to like a mom who has a kid who's like 13 or 14 or 15 or 16, he's like 300 pounds, and you sent this podcast to him, and he is seeing two guys that are in pretty good shape, that both lost over 100 pounds, that both are in the same position that he's in, and we got him to change, cool, job done.
Our job is done.
Right? So, I mean, obviously, I like making the podcast because it helps me network, it helps me meet people that I've seen online and all this other things. There's so many, but obviously to motivate people and like get other people's perspectives and teach and educate. There's so many benefits of it. And also to help people maybe potentially, even if it's just like a microcosm or what's the word? A little bit. Just a little bit. Just motivate them a little bit. Get off the couch and start yesterday. Just a little bit. So we talked about a lot. Is there anything, I guess, that you want to mention or like bring up or anything that we haven't covered?
I think there's many more topics we could explore.
We should definitely do another episode for sure.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Just given our shared history, kind of like very, very similar in so many ways, which is kind of scary, which I did not know before this podcast.
So brother, literal definition of brother from another mother.
Yeah, literally. But I think we're good for today because we've been on for a long talk today.
Yeah, it's almost been 2 hours. So I like to wrap up every podcast episode with, to quote Sean Evans from Hot Ones. You know that YouTube Hot Ones show?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got this camera, and this camera, mainly that camera with the hard cam. I guess let the people know what you got going on. Plug whatever you want to say. There's no rules.
Put whatever I want to say?
Yeah, say whatever you want. Like, be like, follow my Instagram, or there's no rules.
All right.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you follow my Instagram, Puffy's Instagram, stay true to yourself. Stay honest, stay consistent.
That's beautiful. And obviously, all of Justin's like info mainly is Instagram. If he, by the time this comes out, if he has a website and all that other jazz, I'll put it on the YouTube description, bro. So
perfect. That will all be in development.
Yeah. So, well, to be determined when this is going to be released. We'll figure that out. So if you're still watching this at this time, well, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that. If you're watching on YouTube, do the whole algorithm stuff. Please like it. It helps a lot. Subscribe for more, because I'm going to have an episode definitely once a week, if not potentially maybe twice a week coming out. If you have any questions, I'm sure Justin will help answer it. I will definitely help answer it, or potentially would love to do a Q&A either with him or just in general. So drop a comment below. And then lastly, if you're on Spotify listening to this, they have a new feature where you can drop a comment on the podcast itself. And if you've listened to 3 episodes by now, which hopefully you have, you could leave a review. That would help a lot as well. And then I guess that's pretty much it. For all of Justin's things will be below in the description. And until next time, thanks for watching or, well, listening.